Hello, and welcome to another Warcraft 3 audio commentary. This is going to be a solo game on Secret Valley, or should I say Orc Valley, because this map is pretty pro Blade Master. And you're going to sort of see, I don't even know how much this guy actually takes advantage of that fact, but he does go for a Blade Master, and I'm going to be undead in this replay. So I'm going to get the top right spawn. He's going to spawn at the bottom left. Pretty standard opening, fiend opening for me. Crypt, graveyard, altar, ziggurat, da. And he's going to be going for, it's like a delayed barracks, so probably going to be skipping grunts for the most part. And so yeah, I'm getting my first fiend out here. I actually am going to be going for a Crypt Lord, though, which I've sort of found has been somewhat successful against certain orc build orders. It has some weaknesses, like if they get Spirit Walkers, beetles are going to be nearly completely useless. Level 2 beetles, you know, and focusing the Spirit Walkers can be a strategy, but if they're massing Wind Riders, which this guy actually is going to do, it's not terrible to go for a Crypt Lord, because you know you can field a bunch of beetles and an army of fiends, and you know that's gonna sort of function sort of like having fiends and ghouls together, which is sort of another sometimes ideal thing to do against mass Wind Riders. You know, it can put a lot of DPS out there as long as you have web. You know, you maybe can focus down if you catch the Wind Riders before they have like a mass of them, you can sort of try to get some kills there and keep the numbers small, which is going to benefit you greatly, because once they have a mass of Wind Riders and like a leveled Blade Master, a Shadow Hunter, it's going to be like a nightmare to fight against, because you're always going to be in danger, like getting hexed and hero sniped. It's very easy to kill fiends, you know, with like 2 volleys once you have a mass, you know, stuff like that. So positioning, obviously, a lot easier with air units most of the time. And yeah, so anyway, he's trying to keep the pressure on. He is going to get, actually I don't think he did get that null kill, which is kind of funny, but at any rate, I got one of the null kills, he got one of the null kills, and he's taking a lot of damage on his Blade Master, which is going to limit his ability to harass me, you know, going forward. He's still going to try to do it, but I'm just going to go ahead and creep through it. You know, maybe he gets some of these kills. It's going to be a little bit annoying, but I'm not going to take too much damage on my units. As you see, I've got a ton of units with all these beetles, and 3 fiends, 4 fiends now. So really good news. I'm not really teching very fast. Actually, I skipped my first making a second ghoul, so my tech is going to be very delayed, which again is very, very dangerous to do against air units. But what it does do is allow me to get a massive army of fiends and sort of creep really hard. But you know, which is the better strategy? Probably just to go ahead and take it at normal speed and get, you know, a smaller army of fiends. Then maybe, you know, if you really want to, you can add a second crypt on the way to tier 2 or something like that, but you know, it can be very dangerous to be without anti-air for that long. Really interesting choice for him not to pick up those gloves of haste. That could have been a really big deal if he got those and I didn't, actually, but at any rate, he does have a boots of speed. I'm going to try to deny him this creep kill. I don't know if I actually do it. We're going to try to check it out and see. I'm going to try to get the last hit with my Crypt Lord. Oh, I don't quite do it, so that's really bad, but it didn't give him level 2 quite yet, so that's at least decent that he's only level 1. He doesn't have any, you know, damage items. He's got a boots of speed, which is annoying, but in terms of like gloves of haste, claws of attack, circlets, etc., he does not have any of those. He's added a Torn Chieftain for Endurance Aura. Pretty solid second hero against undead, or in any circumstance, he's pretty solid usually. So one sort of alternative is Shadow Hunter. Usually I say the Shadow Hunter is a little better because sort of something I read that I didn't know for a long time is that Hex denies you experience on, like if you hex an opponent's hero and during a battle and they get some kills, any experience that hero is going to get isn't going to actually count if the kills happen when he's hexed. Even if you have a second hero, that first hero or whichever hero gets hexed is still going to actually count towards the experience calculation. So he's still going to draw experience, even though he's not going to get the benefit of the experience. So, you know, sometimes it doesn't make a big difference. It's probably a really subtle difference, but over the course of a game, you know, potentially that can have a huge impact on hero levels. Like if you just needed a little bit more level for like a level 5 hero, even a level 4 hero, or whatever, you know, your second hero, it's like, now obviously heroes, the hex doesn't last nearly as long as it does on units, so that's sort of something that offsets that advantage. But it is something that hex can be, you know, denying your enemy experience as well as denying them the ability to use spells and items like a town portal, a heal scroll. You know, it really sort of gives them some options like hero sniping, or, you know, preventing healing coils, stuff like that can be just a nightmare to play against. Like if your hero is anywhere near low hit points, like even if he's like half hit points, if you have a Death Knight or even a Crypt Lord, or your second hero is like low hit points, you know, they hex your Death Knight and then they focus the Lich or whatever, it's like, you know, it's going to be very easy for them to kill, you know, either heroes or units. And yeah, you know, it can quickly get out of hand, as I've said. So, but anyway, in terms of hero levels, right now I am pretty far ahead of him. My first hero is level 4, and, you know, maybe 4.2 or 3 or something. He's only at 2.5 for his first hero. He's almost level 2 on a second. So, you know, it looks a little worse than it is technically, because 2 heroes is pretty strong. The Crypt Lord leveling to like 5 and 6. 6 is going to be pretty powerful. 5 is going to be somewhat powerful, but you know, him getting 3 and 3 is probably going to be better than me having like a level 5 hero, arguably. But anyway, I'm going to continue creeping, he's going to continue creeping, so we're going to pretty much creep all the camps pretty quickly. And yeah, so I'm going to be getting bonus experience on my hero for doing this camp with only 1 hero and being teched. I think it's a level 2. Let's see if this is going to 2 or this is only going to tier 2. So that's really, actually I didn't get any bonus experience from that. So totally lied to you there. But I'm still almost 5. I just need like 1 kill, which I'm gonna get over here. So gonna be able to get level 5. I'm gonna use these beetles to scout, and I'm gonna run right into this and catch him trying to expand. So I'm gonna burrow there. He's most likely, he doesn't have a dusted appearance, and he probably isn't going to run over there and waste the gold and everything for just those beetles. But this is sort of a really important timing. If I didn't see this going up and I let it get up, you know, without sort of gearing up to push it or counter expand or something like that, it could have been really bad, you know, once that expansion goes up, or if he tiny great hauled, you know, which I don't know why he didn't. Actually, that would have been the ideal thing to do. It would have cost more gold, but it would have pretty much paid itself off. So he's got plenty of resources to have done it. So a little bit awkward that he didn't, but sort of good news for me. So he's getting these towers up. His army size isn't great. He's got 6 Wind Riders. He does have Bloodlust, which is a little bit bad news for me, but I've got level 5. I'm pretty item stacked right here, but I need to be a little bit better on the micro, because he immediately killed 1 fiend. I'm trying to burrow, trying to get these webs off, and half my army is like sort of AFK over here. I don't know what I'm doing. So So anyway, that battle started really badly for me. Usually that should have been just a clear win for me, but it's going to be closer since I was sort of out of position and not totally focused apparently. So like I said, he's at 3-3. He's going to have a pretty strong combination here. But the problem is, like I said, Fiends are good against Wind Riders in terms of damage, armor type. With Burrow, I can avoid some of that focus fire. And with the Beetles, they're going to serve as pretty strong units. Notice he's like 410 hit points, 22 to 27 damage, average attack speed, 2 armor, and they can burrow as well. So pretty decent to be able to field like 5 extra units that have pretty good stats. Compared to a Ghoul, they pretty much went out. The Ghouls attack fast, but they have less hit points and less armor unupgraded, and they do about half damage. So now those are level 3 Beetles, so I'm pretty sure those are level 3. So yeah, so they don't have Disease Cloud anymore. I think they used to have Disease Cloud and got nerfed, so that's, you know, would have been fun to have Disease Cloud. But either way, pretty solid position for me. I killed a lot of his units, but he did get this expansion up, and it is going to be risky for me to pressure this, even though the army size 60 to 49. I have a slight army size advantage, and it's going to be tough for him to sort of surmount that. But Bloodlust is, you know, is going to be pretty strong. Stomp, burrow everything to, you know, to try to. I don't think it avoids the damage. I'm not sure actually. But it avoids the Fiends being stunned and able to be focus fired without dust when he does have a dust. So, but it does give them extra healing while they're burrowed, so that's pretty good. And gonna make him use his Dust of Appearance. And like I said, you know, level 6 pretty strong for the Crypt Lord. Get the Locust Swarm going, and like I said, the army size advantage was to me. But notice, even though he doesn't have any units, that Blade Master and Tauren are still gonna be sort of annoying. But he really needed to wait till I pressed into the towers to fight that battle, which he did not. So, but being at no upkeep is going to sort of help him get back, you know, recoup his economy and regroup and rebuild quicker. So that's sort of annoying. He's added an Orb of Lightning, and he's pretty item stacked himself. He should definitely give that Medallion of Courage to the Tauren. You know, strength and intelligence, obviously going to be better to have on the Tauren, and the Tauren's actually going to get extra damage from the Medallion of Courage, 4 extra damage per attack. So, and you rather have the mana on the Tauren as well. So, pretty interesting choice there. But again, having extra hit points on the Blade Master isn't terrible. But this is sort of going really good for me. I've knocked his expansion out. My army is, once again, it's still stronger than his. And, yeah, so now I just need to keep map control, and I should be able to win this game. Now, the problem is he actually could have transitioned to, like, Tauren or something like that with the Shaman. That would have been really strong, but it's a pretty hard transition. He would have to get Tauren totems and everything, but it would have been something he could. It would have been way better against these Fiends. But at any rate, I'm going to add in a Panda at this stage of the game, because I think the Panda is going to be very strong against the Wind Riders, and I can't. You know, I keep trying to expand, and he cancels it. So I didn't have the Acolytes near it, which is a good thing, but I don't know if it would have leveled him. Actually, it could have gotten that Tauren closer to 4, which I didn't want. But so if you build an undead expansion, you don't have to keep the Acolytes nearby. You know, if you have them somewhat close, but not really close, if they cancel it, you know, you're at least not going to lose the Acolytes, so that's good. So he can't really pressure my base too effectively with his army, so I got, you know, all kinds of time to do whatever I want. Got the Ghoul on patrol over here, got a Fiend, or a Beetle burrowed. So again, I'm trying to find his army. You know, as soon as I can web stuff, you know, it starts to. I should have went this other direction. It would have been good, but At any rate, he does not want to fight me on open ground with this army of his. The army sizes are really close, but fiends and a panda is going to be really strong against his army. So this should be a pretty easy battle for me. I've got an armor scroll. I burrow everything again for the stomp. Maybe it does. Maybe it does prevent them from being stunned. It looked like it maybe did do that, so that was pretty decent. But something I should probably know as an undead player. But anyway, it's going pretty well. I've got the locust swarm going. I'm gonna micro try to avoid these stomps. He only gets like 2 fiends here, and so that was really good. So again, he has lost. It seems like he has been losing battle after battle after battle. You know, which usually is gonna be make this easy mode for me, but his heroes are really strong together, and after 6, you know, the Crypt Lord isn't going to be gaining a whole lot as he levels. You know, he's going to get more armor from the passive, and he can potentially cast Impale. Well, most of his army is air, so that's not going to be a big deal. And yeah, so now, you know, I've once again feel like I've won a battle. I've got the bigger army. He's got both of his heroes are level 4. His Blade Master is close to 5, somewhat close. But I've got 2 on the Panda, 8 on the Crypt Lord. Sort of a big range there, but the Panda is decent support even at level 1 and 2. At level 3, he'd become even stronger as a support hero. But even still, against a bunch of clumped up Wind Riders and stuff, Drunken Haze is pretty strong. Breath of Fire pretty strong. So again, I'm going to camp this expansion, and here's where the army sizes are pretty much even now. Maybe I should have just masked up and said, you know, forget about trying to expand, but I feel like I can hold this, so I go for the expansion. I've got these beetles over here. I probably should pull them into this battle. You know, definitely those are 4 units that could have been very useful. It's probably a mistake not to pull them, at least 3 of them. And now I finally do pull them, but it's a little bit late. So the battle goes down. He immediately focuses the Panda, and he is able to take that out, getting ever so close to 5 on that Blade Master. I've got Armor Scroll. He's got Armor Scroll. He's brought his Peons in, which Peons are actually pretty good against Fiends, so that's annoying, but they're not actually going to draw, even if I attack move, they're not actually going to draw the damage, the Fiend Focus Fire, but you're seeing with Bloodlust, his army is way more effective than otherwise. You know, it was an even food count, but Bloodlust sort of tipped the scales there, and he's sort of beating me now a little bit, even though it might not look that way. This Blade Master and Torrent are going crazy, and I don't have a great way to kill them, you know, since I'm down to 2 Fiends, because I have to kill his Wind Riders, because my only anti-air is the Fiends, and if he kills these Fiends, then his air is going to have free reign to do whatever. So really important for me to web that stuff. That Orb of Lightning is going to be great against beetles, actually, so that's sort of a double, you know, a double whammy on the Orb of Lightning. Every so often he's going to be purging whatever he hits, which not only stops units, but if he hits a summon unit, it's going to just totally wipe it out. So again, the Bloodlust sort of shifted that battle, and now he's, you know, he's got his chances, but, you know, the timing worked out. I'm going to get at least one of these towers up to stay up, and then I should be okay once I get some units coming in. I've got these ghouls. If I'd have pulled the beetles quicker, that probably would have been a lot easier, but didn't quite work out that way. But again, you know, I'm going to complain here in a second, because it seems like he lost like 3 huge battles, and you know, just masked Wind Riders into pretty much, you know, the only real counter that Undead really has against Wind Riders is Fiends. You know, maybe I could have got some Banshees, would have probably been a good move, but, you know, other than that, it's kind of hard to try to transition into like Wagon Manzler, You know, Gargs are sort of a no-go because if I, you know, invest any amount into Gargs to enough to counter the Wind Riders, and again, you really have to, you don't have to overwhelm them, but you still have to get like decent numbers because a Blade Master with an orb counts as pretty good anti-air, and then, you know, while the Gargs do a ton of damage DPS to air units, the Wind Riders don't do too bad DPS against Gargs because piercing against unarmored, and Wind Riders already have decent DPS. And again, with the orb on the Blade Master, and you know, just the fact that Wind Riders are ranged, and then Gargs cannot pressure expansions. Like Fiends can sort of a couple of towers, Mass Fiends can pressure that down. You know, if you've got enough. But if you got Mass Gargs, they just don't do it. They take extra from the towers. They have I think their attack range is lower. I don't think their DPS against ground is as much as Fiends, and I think they also have less hit points. And on top of all of that, you know, 1 or 2 Bat Riders is going to completely smash any kind of Garg army you've got. Now, maybe you got web, or maybe you can like spread them, go stone form, all kinds of tricks to try that. But it's really just a bad, you know, a bad risk to go for Gargs, mostly because how easy it is to counter them. You know, again, he really doesn't even have to transition out of what he was making. He just, you know, adds in an orb, maybe gets an orb on his Tauren, and that's all he really needs. He doesn't need any more anti-air, honestly, but if he does get 1 or 2 Bat Riders, it just becomes a joke. So again, we look at the unit kills. I killed more units. I made way more. Now, a lot of those are going to be beetles, probably. Largest army wasn't radically different. So I never like ran away with the army size difference. But again, it's really hard for Undead to do that. Like, he had that expansion. If I would have ramped up quicker, it probably would have been bad. You know, if I wouldn't have tried to expand, yeah, that probably would have been the better move. You know, just to go ahead and mass into like 80 food before I expand. But again, I didn't do that. I tried to get the expansion to sort of get a long-term advantage and make it easier on myself. You know, if I lose a battle with no expansion, that's game over. So if at least I've got a tower expansion, I can, you know, maybe come out even in a battle, or maybe even, you know, come out slightly behind in a battle, and still not, you know, just get in a hopeless scenario. So that's you know, one of the sort of risk reward type deal. Yeah, it's a little bit risky to try to get that expansion. If it doesn't work out, you know, you're canceling. You know, maybe they get map control, but if it does work out, even just barely, like I get that Nerubian tower up, and you know, he went all in and sort of won the battle, but he didn't kill my hero, and he didn't kill all my units. So now I've got a Nerubian tower, and all he was left with was heroes, pretty much, and peons. So, you know, I can sort of fight him a little bit better on the Blight. The tower obviously going to be very tough to take out with just 2 heroes if I've got any sort of army going. And again, it sort of forces his hand. Like, he can't just, you know, he can't just like sell a bunch of items, try to mass his own army up, try to distance mine with the peons. It sort of forces the issue. It forced him to come to me, which I felt like was good. I still feel like it was a decent move, but I sort of messed up not having the beetles with me at the beginning. Sort of the positioning. The panda, you know, if he would have been casting, you know, 1 more Drunken Haze, 1 more Breath of Fire, kept him in the battle a little bit longer, would have been way better. And yeah, so that was another mistake. But it's kind of annoying a lot of times with Undead against Orc, because you constantly have to, you know, you have to be on the lookout for expansions, towers, you know, nightmare, sort of nightmare scenario, seeing like 8 towers at a Orc base, and you know, you don't have an expansion. It's like, it's just really annoying. The Blade Master, you know, if he gets some good item drops, he just gets really annoying. He gets in a couple of good stomps, maybe I don't burrow before the stomps. I start losing fiends, and if I lost any of those battles going into the later stages of the game, I just wasn't going to be able to recover. Like if I couldn't take his expansion out, that was eventually just going to win him the game. And so timing wise, I had to see that. I had to sort of contest that because the undead expansion mechanic is so sort of fragile and really easy for a blade master to harass that. Really easy for him to do, switch into raiders, taurens. If we go expansion for expansion, it's a little bit. And then he didn't go for a tiny great hall, which he could have done. Would have been, I think, way better for him, and could have made a difference there in some of those battles. So, but again, in terms of unit kills, hero kills, I won in that respect. In terms of resource count, he mined about 1,300 more than me. He lost actually about 800 less than me to upkeep. So you add that together, he had about 2,000 more gold to play with, which was potentially very dangerous. But the units that he made, in small numbers, was really sort of hard for him to overcome that massive fiends. And again, if I would have tried to add in some statues, the slaughterhouse, the statue itself, multiple statues, that could have actually lost me the game. Just having fewer fiends, it's not that hard to focus down statues, and just that smaller damage output could have been a mistake to do that, which seems really weird since statues generally are thought of as pretty strong units, especially in pitched battles. But again, if positioning doesn't work out, they can get a statue down at like 2 volleys or something, and then or a blade master can sneak in there with that orb and chop it down real fast. And then it's like you're left with no support units and fewer fiends than you otherwise would have had. And yeah, so now it would have been nice to be able to get obviously you say, oh, you would love to have a destroyer against Bloodlust, but Wind Riders kill destroyers even quicker than they kill statues and fiends. So 1 or 2 destroyers probably would have been too much of a resource cost going to tier 3. Obviously getting a slaughterhouse, getting the upgrade, it's a statue, and then a destroyer, that's a 5 food unit, a destroyer. So, they can have 2 Wind Riders. Well, let's try to multiply it out. So if you get 2 destroyers, that's going to be 3 fewer fiends that you could have. And fiends are just a better unit against Wind Riders way better than destroyers. So I think you pretty much just have to deal with Bloodlust. Like, you just have to just accept that they have it to some degree. Honestly, I mean, sure, if I get off a perfect Devour Magic and, can keep that destroyer up, sure, it's great, but practically it usually does not work out very well. So, but anyway, pretty fun game. I thought it was pretty well played on both sides. Easily could have went either way. If I would have maybe item drops would have been a little better for him, a little worse for me. Maybe I don't scout that expansion at the right timing as soon as I did. Maybe if I would have went Death Knight, like I said, if I would have gone for statues instead, try to get up to tier 3, the timing wouldn't have been quite as good. Even something as simple as like missing some of those burrows, the positioning going differently, any number of things could have turned that game. And then if you'd have transitioned to Tauren to go with the Bloodlust, maybe he has a better shot. Again, he never knows when I might add in some destroyers or frostworms. Obviously, if I get either of those units, you don't want to switch in a Tauren. But as I was mostly going fiends and didn't have didn't transition out of it, it would have been okay for him to do it. But anyway, hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you like these videos. And yeah, if you want to subscribe, you want to make some requests, or if you want to play some 2v2, some custom games, whatever, hit me up in the comments or messages, and send me a message. And I might be able to oblige you on your request if you want to see some goofy strategies, or or some more standard strategies if I haven't discussed them already. I sort of am all over the place in some of these videos and in my choice of replay, and a lot of times I go for sort of off the wall strategies myself, so which maybe isn't gonna be what you're wanting to see, so just let me know. This is Scry Mind signing out.